Hello there and welcome to Corey Loses for a quick video talking about some of the differences between versions of Empire at War. Differences in the game depending on where you get it from, whether it's Steam, GOG, the disc version, or the Origin version, I guess, which is relatively recent. So one of the things that's come up a lot ever since there started to be some resurgence in interest in Empire at War is, especially with mods, why some mods may support some versions of the game but not others, or what benefit you get from getting the game in one place versus another. The core of this comes down to some updates that came out for Empire at War towards the end of 2017 and the start of 2018. These patches were only released for the Steam version of the game, and they're very important patches to how the game functions and especially to how mods are able to handle the game, or vice versa, how the game is able to handle mods. And it's very significantly impacted how modders have been able to do different things in Empire at War. So the core of these patches to a lot of people is that it supports, it adds back multiplayer support for just the Steam version based on Steam's, I think it's peer-to-peer networking. So for a lot of players, the most obvious difference would be that. But there are two very important bug fixes that came out with the Steam version, with the Steam updates. And this is something that separates it from all the other versions. So the first important one is a bug that was known about for a long time. It was discovered pretty early on in the game's release, which the game came out in like 2006, and by I think 2010, it was a very well-known thing where when a certain number of things have happened in the game, basically the game tracks every object that exists, it would stop being able to assign the numbers to track those objects. So the game would just, at some point, stop letting you select units, stop letting you tell them what to do, and it would become unplayable. We released a utility that you could use to go outside of the game, and for those of you who may not be familiar with me, I'm the lead developer of Empire at War Expanded, so the Thrawn's Revenge and Fall of the Republic mods. So I'm kind of talking about it with my experience from that. But we released a tool developed by Pox and Frege that could let you open your save file. It would then reset that counter and let you play on again. And this worked for the most part, but there was a chance that it would break your save file, but at that point it was unusable anyways. And also it required having the player download a third-party program, know where to find their saves, exit the game, load up the program, fix the save, go back and get it. It was not convenient. And this first Steam patch fixed that when it was reintroducing multiplayer, which is a really big deal. It was something that mods had started learning how to work around, though, so it wasn't the huge game changer in what allowed us to support Steam and not other versions yet. The other thing that happened around this time is that large mods started to run into an issue that you could actually hit in the base game as well, but the larger mods started to run into it more, where when you were saving your game, you would then become unable to load the save because of some memory pointers that got overflowed. So when it's saving with a lot of data, it means there's a lot of units on the map, a lot of planets, a lot of extra sound files, texture files, model files. It was basically going over, I think, 2 gigabytes of RAM. And even the 4 gigabyte, even large address aware, which lets the game use more memory, does not fix this issue. It would not change how the save files were written and loaded. So you would very easily run into these problems with a lot of the larger mods. Thrawn's Revenge, Awakening to Rebellion had a lot of issues with it. Republic at War would sometimes run into it. Phoenix Rising would run into it very early as well. I think Remake probably had some problems with it too. So it was something that pretty much everyone was starting to run into. And there was like 6 months where all the teams were trying to basically figure out what we could do about it. And the debug build we had was giving us some less than helpful information. So there was one point where I made a button that would like turn off all the AI, so it would dump pretty much everything the game had to record and just get the game state, and then you could save, load the game, turn the AI back on, and this would extend the life of the game a little bit. but it was very unreliable and obviously a very hacky solution. AOTR, I believe, started experimenting with taking out sound files, and they found that had an impact. Like they just deleted all the VO. So there were a lot of things that mods tried. It was like 6 months of us all being like, okay, if we can't solve this, we cannot mod this game anymore. We can't add anything. We're basically done. But then Brian Hayes, one of the Petroglyph developers, this was able to work on another patch because Petroglyph has actually been really good about talking to us about all this stuff. We've reported a few things to them, and hopefully, maybe in the future, we'll get another patch for some other issues. But he was able to change how the game's saving worked and push that patch on the Steam Workshop as well. Or not on the Steam Workshop, on the Steam version of the game. So the downside to this is that the Steam version takes an absurdly long time to save. So it's better in every other way, but it does have that one downside that saving takes forever. A lot of people mistake that for the game not actually saving or crashing, and they'll often quit out and corrupt their saves. Kind of ironic, but this made it possible for mods to continue to add a lot of stuff and the extra functionality. So the end result of that is that a lot of mods had to start moving over to not supporting the other version of the game. And again, this was not a choice between developing for one version and not for the other. It was a choice between developing the mod for the Steam version of the game or generally having to stop development entirely and even strip back a lot of features that we had already put in. And this was the case 2 years ago, let alone anything you might have seen that mods have done since then. So this is why for Thrawn's Revenge, for example, we release pretty much monthly updates on the Steam Workshop, but it was only every few releases that we'd try to do an update for the non-Steam versions. And at first, with 2.2, our release in 2018, we just had to take out like the map previews for building your base on the galactic level, as well as the unit VOs, and we were able to keep most of the content. Then with our last release for Steam or for non-Steam versions 2 months ago, we had to not only remove those things, but we also had to remove the 2 largest galactic conquests because they could not launch and could not save at any point. And it seems like we'll probably have to stop releasing for the GOG versions. There are some mods that still try to release for the GOG version and the disc version, but you'll generally see a lot of reports from them that their saves stop working. And this is basically why. So this is why modders will almost always recommend that you get the Steam version of the game if you are getting the game to play with mods. Again, the downside is going to be that saves take a while, but if you just walk away, it will finish. For some people, it's like 30 seconds. For some, it's a minute. For some, it can be much, much longer than that, but there's no control modders have over that. So it's actually something that I get a lot of angry comments about. More, probably the ratio of nice comments to angry comments about it is probably the worst out of any individual topic I've ever seen while doing this channel or even the mods. Just being very vocally angry and hostile towards not just myself and Thrawn's Revenge team, but Awakening Rebellion gets a lot of flack for it as well. And I do want to say that we all understand that not everyone can afford to buy the game again if they have the GOG or disc version, but it's something that's out of our control. It's not impossible that Petroglyph will be able to do these updates for the other versions in the future, but it's very unlikely. It's been 2 years and the updates haven't come to the other versions yet. Petroglyph is working on the... I think they're working on a Conan game now. They're also working on the Command & Conquer remasters for EA, so maybe that will help build that relationship and possibly get more updates for Empire War or other Star Wars properties. But that's basically where the game stands right now. So if you are buying the game now and you're new to it, get the Steam version. If you have the GOG or disc version and you want to play new mods, wait for the game to go on sale on Steam. It's on sale for like $5 every other month. It's not a huge deal. And like if you really want the mods that much, basically you're paying the $5 for that modded content. We don't get any money for it, but we're just happier with people playing that version. Like, I've seen some people try to claim they're like standing up for us by being angry at us, and it's like, no, we're all fine with this. But yeah, so GOG will load faster, or save faster. Steam will be able to save and actually load regardless of the mod you're playing. There are some mods that are still somewhat trying to support GOG, but you're always going to be dealing with less fleshed out and less developed content. Never buy the Origin version. I have no idea why they released that. It's basically just the GOG version, even though it was released without the updates that had already happened through Steam, and I don't know why they went with that one. But that's the rundown on what all that means. I don't know how this took 10 minutes, but there you have it. Thanks for watching. I'm planning to do some videos explaining other Empire at War things coming up, especially with the release of Fall of the Republic impending. So, thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time.